So here's what happened. JB said, I'm going to be 15 minutes late on Friday. I can't even tell you what day it is. And Frank said,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a day late on crunch time. And because, hey, hold my beer. That's the way it works sometimes.
Stuff
You're
happens,
eating,
man.
you're drinking. What's going on over there, buddy?
Well, I just got back from a parent-teacher conference. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do with my 18-year-old who has zero motivation to find something after high school. So for you parents out there that are dealing with the same thing, I'm right there with you. Good luck. Maybe one of the things that I like about talking to D3 football players is that they're the opposite of that. They're determined. They know what they're doing. They're getting stuff done. But we got a couple of good guests on for today's show, and from some schools I don't think we've ever had on. So I like that we're sort of spread it around. I know last week we were a little Region 2 heavy, and for good reason. But this week it's more about Regions 4, 5, and 6. And M&M's.
The M&M.
There we go.
Yep.
Sounds yummy.
There you go. One thing, though, before we do go cold open-wise here, Scotty's football. Maybe if I look down, it actually got my directions right. Scotty's football semifinals of the Section 2 Class A area of our New York State high school football. They are rematching with Averill Park tonight. It'll be a little bit cold, but going to be out there rooting them on. I missed last week's sectional game against Bethlehem, which they won. The team's been pretty scrappy this season and has really come to a good crescendo toward the end of things here. Let's see what happens tonight. Go Scotties. Let's do this. JB, you know how this works. It's season 17, our preview show of week 10. Wow. Up in the huddle? We're going to start without our faces. Oh, hold on. There's a Stagpole ticket I think I just saw there. Maybe that should be the new
That's what we're going for.
Photo. There you go.
That's what we're trying to get this. We're trying to get some people to get this ticket.
Yep. So there are 28 automatic bids this year. Okay, 28, which means 12 at larges. So first things first, before we can even talk about those, at large bids, we got to figure out who's in the tournament. Well, 5 teams have helped us out. You can see them in bold. That's the Landmark, Liberty League, MAC, NAC, and NJAC. So kind of in the middle of the alphabet in the conferences. But there are a bunch of conferences. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14, I think, by my count, of the remaining 23. Yep, that can clinch
more than half
this week. There are a couple that have championship games that will be coming up. Actually, a few now. That's the ECFC, what am I forgetting here? The SCIAC, and also the MIAC. So those will automatically be Week 11 situations. Yep. So, but, the MIAC, whatever you want to call it, still is going to rely on the results at Bethel, Concordia, Moorhead, I believe, although I've never tried to really understand their tiebreakers and how it works. But I believe if Concordia and Moorhead were able to beat Bethel, they would get to the championship game against St. John's. But you can see here, Wartburg, Hardin, Simmons, Johns Hopkins, North Central, the winner of Hudson at Endicott, the winner of Cortland at Brockport, Mount St. Joseph, Mass Dartmouth, Hope, the winner of Monmouth at Lake Forest. Let's see, who else? Mount Union. Technically, Marietta can't clinch if they win, unless John Carroll drops one this weekend. Randolph-Macon, Northwestern in the UMAC are the teams that can clinch this weekend. So, JB, let's talk about the games that'll get us here, and we'll start in Region 1 with I was having a little divergence here on our games of the week. We both agree on Wesleyan and Trinity, and that's a big championship game in the NESCAC, so that's nothing to do with Pool A. That's just to solve and end the NESCAC situation out there. Yeah. But Springfield Merchant Marine, we thought that would be the new MAC championship game. Well, not so fast, my friend, as it's another team in that area that's going to be handling things next week. SUNY Maritime could still win the new MAC, and Springfield will have to travel to them next week. But first things first, they'll have to pay attention to the Mariners. You're going to get a little flavor of New York City, basically, the Bronx and Kings Point, basically, over the next 2 weeks in reverse order. Throgs Neck, yes. But Husson versus Endicott, the CNE championship game, which we didn't necessarily see coming. And I'll tell you, Husson struggled, as you may have seen in our very late crunch time recap. They had to win in overtime against a Western New England team that should have probably won that game in regulation, but did not. They threw that interception and forced that overtime session. What else are you seeing here, games that you're watching besides Widener versus FDU? Go ahead, tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stood out to me for the Widener FDU thing is if you go back to, you have to go, I mean, you can go back to 1998 with FDU Forum. The Devils have never had better than 5 conference wins in the MAC. They did it back in 21. They went 7-4 overall, 5-3 in the MAC. And they have a chance to get their 6th win here against a Widener team that, when you look at the standings, they're above. So this is a great opportunity for the Devils to have, a pretty, important step in their program. It would be their 7th win overall of the season. And I think the 21 they had 7 wins, but I think that had to do with a bowl game in the postseason. So yeah, they could be on course for 8-something win season. That's pretty exciting for them. So that's why I picked that one.
Colby Bowdoin will be the last game to kick off on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Yeah. So no late night action really in D3 this weekend. CBB. I know it's disappointing for a lot of people, but that same situation will arise. I think 5:30 is the last kickoff on week 11 as well. So we are done with late night games, and the committee likes it that way, basically. Well, let's go to Region 2 here, and Cortland-Brockport, the game I will be attending. Again, the common link here, Susquehanna, just like last year, Brockport narrowly loses, but Cortland this year wins against a Susquehanna team that I keep saying is better than last year, though Moravian almost proved otherwise last week with how they took them to the ropes for a little while there.
Moravian's pretty good, though. They're a good team.
Yeah, better than what we thought coming into the season for sure. Coach Long, I think, deserves a lot of credit for what he's been doing there to make that team click this year. Case Western Grove City is interesting because, again, to preserve the three-way tie, which W&J owns the tiebreaker of that three-way tie. In case you're wondering, what is the PAC three-way tiebreaker? It is margin of victory between the teams that played each other for that tiebreaker. So they own it as a +4 points, I believe it is, or a +5 or something like that.
That close?
It is really that close. I literally just mere points between the differentials. But W&J owned just barely that tiebreaker. And they only have one game left next week. They are off this week, the Presidents are. Grove City, on the other hand, has a team that is looking to play spoiler in Case Western Reserve. That is one of my games of the week as well. Dickinson versus Hopkins. Hopkins can win the Centennial Conference automatic bid with that win there. And Muhlenberg versus Franklin and Marshall. Just for the hell of it, I think at this point, that's a big game just to see
MAC
maybe bowls.
CC Bowl game.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. And we'll go to Region 3 here. We'll just keep on rolling here, and we'll come back out to us with it. We got Hampton, Sydney, Shenandoah, UMHB, Hardin-Simmons. That's both of our games of the week there. WNL, Bridgewater, and LaGrange, Bellhaven. But do note that Randolph-Macon can win the ODAC with a win this weekend. Also, UMHB, Hardin-Simmons. Hardin-Simmons would win the ASC with a win this weekend. If UMHB wins, I haven't even begun to try to look at how this tie would be broken. I'm going to assume it's going to be margin of victory or strength of schedule of some sort. But, with only a 4-team conference, I'm not sure how they rewrote it.
I'm pretty sure.
Rewrote it.
I'm pretty sure it's margin of victory, because I remember when you were posting videos from the Howard Payne HSU game last weekend. Riley was saying, the Cowboys aren't trying to run it up, but they need to win by 21 plus in order to make sure that they're safe in the tiebreaker type situation. So I think that was what's going on there. I'm pretty sure that that's the case.
Yeah, I maybe I can do some quick research during the show, see if we can confirm
Riley
it.
Zayas, I think I should have said, from truetothecrew.com.
True to the crew. Yep, no, we'll figure that out at a certain point in time. But you can see not much action there. LaGrange Belhaven, hey, LaGrange looking to win their 6th game this year, I think that would be, ultimately. That's crazy. Congratulations to them for what they're doing. JB, awesome, I will let you take Region 4 as we prepare for our first guest here, and here it is.
Okay, well, we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, because now that we're down to only 13 undefeated teams, there aren't a lot of them left to talk about. And this game between Marietta and Mount Union, scheduled for 1:30 on Saturday, is the only one in the country where you got 8-0 versus 8-0. The Pioneers of Marietta have been having an excellent season. This has been a team that's been, I think, on the rise the last couple of years in the OAC. They finished last year with an 8-2, 7-2 overall record in the conference. So I think they've just lost to John Carroll and Mount Union. They've risen up from being sort of a 500 ball club over the last few years. Their best season that they've had in recent years was, other than last year, was back in 2018, a 7-3 overall record. So this is a program that's come a long way, and they are putting up a ton of points. I think the lowest scoring game they've had this season was a 35-7 win at Heidelberg in week 6. They're putting up 55, 51, 54, 47. They won last week 52-6. So something's going to give here. The Purple Raiders maybe haven't been as dominant as we saw back in the day. So if I was a Pioneers fan, I'd be like, hey, why not us? Let's go into Alliance and come out with a big win.
JB, it is time, I think, to go to our first guest. And why don't you introduce them?
I have to love this name, and it's funny because I live about 5 minutes away from the WWE training center, and I could imagine a wrestling superstar with the name of Harley Hopkins. This is one of the linebackers for Marietta. I'm sure he's not a pro wrestler or anything, but he's probably a really tough guy, would definitely kick our butts. He holds down the middle for this defense that's really been amazing this season. They've only allowed, I think, 10 or 14 points was the most points they've given up. And this is a big reason why I think everyone's excited about the Pioneers going up against Mount Union. So junior linebacker for Marietta, Harley Hopkins, welcome to In the Huddle. How you doing, man? Oh, looks like we need a little help with the audio.
I'm doing good.
Oh, there he is.
Said,
hey, how's it going, man?
I'm muting these guys out, is what he said, basically. Good. Harley, how you doing, buddy? As JB said, what an interesting name. First off, I love the facial here. You got it going, man. But let's talk about, the season so far, because you guys were not first on our list. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sorry, okay? But I'm sure you've heard that before, that this is a little surprising to certain people throughout the country. What happened here? What led to the success coming into the season? And, how does it feel right now to be in this position in the first place?
Well, a lot of it that led into the success this season is this offseason, everyone was working hard. We had a lot of people return. Connor on offense, Chance on defense. We have great leadership. We knew at the end of last year, 8-2 is a good finish. We knew we could do a little better, and we just kept grinding this offseason.
Harley, what do you attribute? I mean, right now you guys are sitting. You're literally the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the country, only allowing basically a touchdown and a half, 7.5 points per game. You've only allowed 60 points over 8 games this season. Is this something that's kind of coalesced with the the guys in your class, or just sort of a group effort? Maybe there's something that's clicking. I mean, you guys are shutting teams down in a way we haven't seen from Marietta in a long time.
I mean, I think we have our defense coordinator is really great at drawing up game plans each week, and I think together as a defense, we're big on not letting teams score, especially when we know we can hold them. It kind of bothers us if we get a touchdown scored on us. I think we only let up 1 or 2 this season. So collect like that at all. We want to keep teams, scoreless or very minimal scoring at all.
Let's take a look here at the season so far for you guys, and I mean, look at this: 2 touchdowns against Otterbein. You gave up. That Otterbein team, it's such a strange team to me. I think they've won 1 game this season, and yet they challenged Mount Union. They score 2 touchdowns against you guys. I can't figure them out. So good luck to John Carroll versus them this weekend. But 14, 10, 10, 7, 7, 6, 6, and 0. As JB's pointing out. But the offense, it's not like you need to do this, because the offense is really outpacing these teams wildly here. And, I guess I want to look back to last year. You brought it up. But, what did you guys learn about yourselves last year that leads to this progression to this degree? And, I mean, is this something, you're a junior, I believe, so you've got time left. Is this something we should continue to look forward to over the next year to 2 years? Is this just something that's rolling and building?
Yeah, for sure. I think the culture's definitely changed. Marietta's been the bottom of the OAC for some years now, and this year we're obviously doing pretty well, and we want to keep that going in the next couple of years. But I think it's just a culture change, really. We know we could do something special, and we keep working hard every day, and hopefully just keep doing good.
It seems like a lot has happened, and the teams are completely different from when you guys last played Mount Union in week 3 of the 23 season. It was 28-0 loss, but when you look at that Mount Union team, they would go on and beat teams by 35, 76, 69, 40-something points. They would, there was, so there may be something to take away from that, but going into this one, it feels, it's later in the season. You guys have been on a roll here. You've won a bunch of games. How do you kind of carry that momentum into basically like a championship type of atmosphere on Saturday?
We know it's going to be the best team we're going to face so far this season. I mean, they're still Mount Union. They're still one of the greatest dynasty teams in D3. So we haven't changed our game plan. We're still going in, same attitude. We know it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a dogfight on both sides. Got faith in our defense to do good, and I got faith in our offense to do good. It's just determines how well we stop them.
You look at NPI, which I know is kind of a 4-letter word with only 3 letters in it across Division III right now, and you've got a situation here where you guys are at number 16. A loss to Mount Union, who seems to be undervalued in NPI, at number 9, could knock you guys right to the cut line. It would be interesting to see how this plays out. I think you stay above the cut line, but then with John Carroll, if you can beat them next week, you guys may be a lock with 1 more win in either one of your games ultimately to go to the playoffs. And that's something that I can't even remember last time Marietta was in the playoffs in any form or another. I mean, historic is, maybe an abused word, but you still have to win a game against 2 very tough teams. And do you feel like you guys have done anything yet this season, or is it basically your playoffs for the next 2 weeks before the playoffs in your mind?
I mean, we feel like we did something this season, but yet again, we haven't played the 2 teams we lost to last year. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, but I truly think that we can go in prepared. I think we'll have a good chance. The team's looking forward to playing them 2 weeks. We kind of, we weren't really looking forward to this like we were, but we were focused each week, 1-0, but these were definitely always in the back of our mind was week 9 and week 10 against 2 of the best teams.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's chat a little bit more about you, Harley. You're from Zanesville, Ohio, which looks like it's about 30, 40, maybe 50 miles east of Columbus. Maybe you're a Buckeye fan if you're not watching D3 football. I mean, tell us a little bit about how, Marietta got on your radar. I mean, obviously, Ohio high school football is some of the most competitive in the country. There's always going to be colleges coming at every level looking at guys who are good players. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to Marietta.
Well, I obviously knew about Marietta. Some of my my high school coach and my head high school coach and the athletic trainer went to Marietta, so I knew of Marietta. They recruited me a little bit, and then I came down here on a visit, and I really liked the atmosphere. It felt more like home than any other college I was looking at. And, Waddle reached out to me, and I started talking to Coach Feltrop, the defense coordinator, and I felt like I could do good things here, and I really liked the place.
Well, a beautiful college from what I understand. I've yet to get out there, but I hope to someday for sure as I try to get to as many of the 240, 241 as I can, and JB hopefully will someday as well. But Harley, long story short, you got a big senior class, obviously, some grads probably, I would assume, too. How important would you characterize this game for those guys to win it for the guys that won't be continuing after this year? Kind of set the stage here for the weekend to put a little bit of drama on this, I guess, ultimately. But how important would it be to secure a victory for those guys?
It's very important to them. I mean, they've been working hard for years, 4 or 5 years for some of them. The whole team knows, and collectively, it's going to be a huge win if we can get it done. I'd really love to do it, send them seniors off on a good note on their last season. Hopefully we can do that.
I think you guys are going to travel well to Alliance for sure. JB, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when I'm researching, guys for these kind of spots, I typically go to the statistics. You lead the team in tackles, but what really sold me was, and you've got it up, but like you have some pretty awesome hair. I mean, you're like Hercules.
Yeah.
What is the length now? You got playoff hair going on, and is it coming down to like past your shoulders? What are we looking at? Oh yeah, here we go.
All tied up, but
look at that.
It's getting there.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I could never have done that even when I was his age. But that is quite the mane. That's great stuff. So there you go. That was a big reason. Not only does he lead the team in tackles, he probably has the best hair on the team too, Frank.
I appreciate it.
Very, very scientific way we pick our player guests here, obviously, Harley. But listen, we know you got a big game to get ready for. A little bit of travel coming up, not much, but obviously it's next 24 hours.
He's got to get a class, Frank. We got to shut up so he can get the class. He doesn't get in trouble with his professor.
I love it when they put a time crunch on us like that. Oh, he's got class. That means you're doing the right things. You're focused on the right things in college and graduate school and everything else for the players out there to do that. But Harley, we do want to give you the opportunity, as we do to our student-athlete guests, to give out any shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, etc. that might be watching Harley Hopkins. The floor is yours for shout-outs.
I would just honestly like to shout out the football team. I mean, I appreciate everything we're doing together. I'm happy we're doing good, and I hope we just keep doing good.
Short, sweet, to the point, but poignant at that because they are doing good. And, regardless, nobody can take those 8 wins away from you. You got 2 big ones here. It's house money time, buddy. Go have some fun with the house money at this point. Roll the dice, see how it goes, and enjoy it at this point because we know who Mount Union is. We know who John Carroll is. You do too. And we'll see where this lands ultimately for you guys. Talking about you at 9-1 or 10-0, I think we're talking about you in the postseason. So best of luck on this, and we'll hope to talk to you guys down the line. Good luck.
Thank you.
Harley Hopkins joining us.
Harley Hopkins. Love that name, man.
Absolutely.
Great.
Come on, man.
Great guy,
that's
too.
just quality. He's
all
already out the
business.
door. He already left. He's already halfway across campus. He's that fast, actually.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Well, we have one more guest coming up.
People, keep an eye out for him.
Absolutely. Our next guest is due in about 10 minutes or so, but we will talk about their region right now, and their game is both of our pick in terms of our game of the week in Region 5. And JB, take it away.
Yeah, so the Monmouth Scots, great Scots, they were the Lakefront Bowl champions. I think I tripped over that during the last Crunch Time show. So yeah, they were 9-2 last year. They did beat Lake Forest 16-14, if you may remember, Frank, back in week 9 of 23. And then they went on to take down St. Norbert in the Lakefront Bowl 21-14. They kind of lost out on the MWC's kind of quirky tiebreaker. So they have beaten this Lake Forest team, as recent as last season, and they're 7-0 in the Midwest Conference. Their only loss was in week 1 by 14 points to a Wartburg team that's on their way to potentially winning the ARC for another season and going back to the playoffs. So this is a really strong team out of the MWC. This is a big game between these two conference rivals, and it's basically for the Pool A bid conference championship. So I think, along with Marietta Mount Union, this is probably like the 1B game of the weekend for the kind of across the country when you look at some of the different matchups. Maybe some WIAC fans or WEAC fans might disagree with us, but I'm really excited to see how the Scots and Foresters square off, and that's a 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday there in Illinois.
Also, I should point out a win by Wartburg over Dubuque would give Wartburg the ARC title, so that is something to watch out for as well. And we will go back to that slide one more time before the end of the show to talk about who can clinch and who has clinched, because I think it's important for us to get the context here before we even talk about how MPI affects things. We need to get teams into the field in the first place, so stay tuned for that. Let's go to Region 6 in the meantime, and there is plenty to talk about here. The two Wisconsin games really do have a lot of importance because, remember, Oshkosh has the advantage right now as they had beaten Platteville, and so Oshkosh leads the WEAC with the head-to-head. But Stout could easily be an undefeated team this season. I mean, how crazy is this team? We talked about it in Crunch Time, for those of you that got to see it, and again, apologies for the lateness, but it's out there. Go watch it if you haven't. But we did talk about this Stout team. Nobody wants to see them on their schedule still, and they still have two big games to come here this week against Oshkosh. Whitewater Lacrosse. Whitewater, as I suggest in Quick Hits, is sitting there saying, hey, we just love playing spoiler, but guess what? Whitewater, if they win against Lacrosse, flies up to the cut line area and then puts themselves in a position as such to perhaps, just perhaps, get into the playoffs as one of the last Pool C bids with 3 losses. That's incredible, but it's still possible. Might need a little help from other teams. Might need Mary Hardin Baylor to beat Hardin Simmons, as we said, but it's still there, that possibility. Also, you look at Bethel, Concordia, Moorhead. As I said, I believe that ultimately will decide that division, whether or not Bethel gets the entry for the rematch against St. John's, and so we'll see that play out. Pack Loot, Linfield's an important game because Linfield, this is a team that could actually force a 3-way tie. Pack Loot only has 1 loss in the Northwest Conference, and so if they were to beat Linfield and bring them down with them, then Whitworth ultimately, would have to win next week, or if they lost, we'd have a 3-way tie in the Northwest Conference between Pack Loot, Linfield, and Whitworth. How the heck did that happen? Don't ask me, but JB, we both pick Whitewater Lacrosse. I add Stout Oshkosh. Big games, though, across the board there in Region 6. And one other interesting thing I want to point out to you before I let you take some stage here is we always update our undefeated teams thanks to your hard work. There wasn't much work to do, though, this week because we have not dropped any undefeated teams week to week. We are guaranteed to lose one this week in the Marietta Mount Union game, but I cannot remember this few with 3 to 4 weeks to go, undefeated versus undefeated scenarios in Division 3. There was only this game, essentially, that we were waiting for to be undefeated versus undefeated. For as wild a season as it is, what we're seeing is the wildness is taking a lot of teams from the undefeated column very early on, earlier than we're used to, I think, to leave us only 13 and a guaranteed 12 after this week. And who knows? We may lose a couple others because of some big games still to come, like Lake Forest Monmouth, Cortland Brockport. St. John's, St. Olaf could be interesting, obviously. We'll see how that plays out. But you get the picture here. Springfield versus Merchant Marine could be interesting. Hardin-Simmons, Mary Hardin-Baylor, who wants revenge after that embarrassment. And let's not be shy about it. It was an embarrassment in Game 1 in Belton between those two teams. And if Hardin-Simmons plays the way they did against Howard Payne for the first 3 quarters, Mary Hardin-Baylor will take a huge lead in that game early on. So they need to wake up pretty quickly in that one, that's for sure. Highlights from that and interviews still to come later on today, by the way, for those wondering. What do you want to talk about today? Any topics?
Well, maybe to sort of to build on what you were talking about, how few undefeated teams are. You mentioned this in the last time we spoke. There is a huge pileup of 9-1 teams, and we could potentially see, like in conferences like the PAC, there could be 3 9-1 teams at the end of the season. The way things are starting to unfold. And that could be bad news for some 2-loss, and there are still some Warhawk fans out there that are holding out hope that somehow if they can win their next couple of games, that they can somehow rise up and sneak in to a playoff spot. I honestly feel like they're probably headed towards the Isthmus Bowl if they can beat La Crosse this weekend. That game is kind of an elimination battle for both teams on a couple of levels, but. The way this new playoff system has set up, if you're a 9-1 team, it really gives you a huge advantage over the rest of the field. And you can kind of see here right now, we have the cutoff line at 35. There are some good teams out there like La Crosse, who's at 41. They're sitting there at 4-2. You've got teams like River Falls, who are 5-3. John Carroll's at 6-2. In most years, an 8-2 John Carroll team would be a pretty good shot at a Pool C bid, and this year they're kind of on the outside looking in. Same thing with Alma; they have a good chance to finish 8-2, and they were a playoff team last year, and they're not going to get any luck. Delaware Valley is effectively eliminated from playoff consideration at this point, sitting at 50. So when you look at this far right list, there's a lot of familiar names that may not make the playoffs. Which is kind of surprising, and then kind of lurking around. Let's talk something through real
quick. Let's talk something through for a half second here. So if you look close enough, you can see that Whitewater has 60.06 points currently in their NPI, okay? According to the table that I'm looking at, a win versus La Crosse is worth 79.794 points. And in this case, because I believe Whitewater is on the road to La Crosse, it would get magnified as a 1.1 instead of an 0.9 times that. So with 9 games in the books at that point and a win that's about 20 points higher than they currently sit, they stand to gain Whitewater somewhere in the 2 to 3 point gain for this. So that would put them around 62 to 63 points. That would put them probably right around 40th with a win this week. Give or take, around 40th. Not there yet, I don't believe. And who do they have left after that point? I'm going to take a quick look at their schedule on the NCAA site.
I think it's like Eau Claire or Stout or something like that. It's not.
It is Eau Claire.
Top. Yeah,
who is 2-6. So
that's
that win won't help them much.
That's a win.
So again, though, let me point out how razor thin this scenario is because of just how few games we have to add in. Mary Hardin-Baylor beating Hardin-Simmons would tether with Whitewater. It would pull them over the cut line probably this week if Mary Hardin-Baylor were to win that game. If they lose that game, it actually hurts Whitewater, and they probably stay in the mid-40s instead of the better 40s in that situation. So, long story short for us here, I think that Whitewater is not dead, but when you look at these numbers, you're seeing a situation where, I'd rather be another team instead of Whitewater if my hopes were absolutely on playoffs, but they're not dead yet. I mean, I feel like I'm working election day numbers again here, the way we're having to look at this stuff and do regressions and everything on these numbers, but that's kind of how you do play it ultimately here. So there's that.
Yeah,
so JB,
the team that I'm kind of wondering about the most is Wheaton, because a couple of weeks ago I thought no chance in hell at 8-2. Now they're like 38th. They're going to play a winless Milliken team this weekend. That's not going to do much for them. And then with North Park's loss to Carthage last weekend, their best case scenario is a 5-5 season. I don't think that's going to give them much of a boost either. And when you think about like if the three teams in the pack all finish 9-1, maybe Wheaton can kind of squeak into the 35th spot. Like if Monmouth loses, or maybe if Grove City loses, or Center, like there is some room here. I mean, SUNY Brockport could drop. So I think there is now an opportunity, even with wins against two teams that move the needle much. I think the chances of a Wheaton squeaking in to a Pool C bid is looking better than I thought it was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I've been watching that too. I think you're absolutely right. And, it strikes me like the Whitworth situation. I think the numbers are overvaluing a team that our eye test doesn't agree with here. And I'm not trying to, talk badly about this team, okay? At the end of the day, a lot of people look at this Wheaton team and say, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to have the same potency as most years when they would get in as a Pool C bid. And yet, here we are, we're looking at this team still in that position. So, JB, our second guest not here yet. It happens sometimes, but I had a little plan, a game plan here for how we're going to do lightning predictions. So why don't we move to that now, and maybe they will come in at the last second for us. But we'll put everything on the clock here and on the screen. So we have 12 minutes on the clock. I have not picked any games to predict. It's going to be you and me just going at it for 12 minutes. Basically, I'll name a game, you start, I go. You name a game, I start, you go, a type of situation. So we're just going to go back and forth for 12 minutes, as many games as we can fit in this week. And I'm not even going to type them in. We're just going to have to track them real fast here. Are you okay with this? Are you ready to do this? Yeah, he's got his pen ready.
Let's do it.
Hold on. Let me get a schedule up because everything's working a little backward here today.
Yeah.
Let me go to D3 Football site.
Let me pull up the scoreboard here. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it helps matters.
All right, here we go.
If I can get through all the ads here, there we go.
Well, they got to pave the bills, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's get some music going in a second here. Yeah, folks, it didn't exactly work the way we thought it was going to today, but we're going to press through this. We're going to make this work. And there's the music.
Yeah, don't see.
You got one? You ready to go? You fire at me, and I'll get the clock starting. How's that?
Well, why don't we start off with an obvious one? It's right at the top of the list. Cortland at Brockport, 12 p.m. kickoff, attended by the mayor.
Yes, the game I'll be attending. Look, Cortland is still Cortland. I think it's going to be a good game, though, because using that Susquehanna data point, I think we learned a little bit that Brockport can show up in these games, but I still think Cortland wins even on the road. 35-21.
All right.
Your turn to give me a prediction. You got to predict that.
I picked the first one. Oh,
right.
Cortland
Still have to predict
wins
it.
28-17.
Okay. We had a guest on from Marietta, so let's go there. Number 22, Marietta, at number 4, Mount Union. Go.
I'm going to pick the upset. Why not? It should be fun. I think Harley Hopkins and his defense is going to figure out a way to tame the Raiders. And so let's say they win it 28-27. Close game.
Wow. I still think Mount Union's Mount Union, especially at home in Alliance in November. I just can't pick against that. So I'm going to say Mount Union wins this 35-25. Okay, your turn.
How about Hardin-Simmons hosting UMHB round 2?
You know, I didn't like what I saw last week by Hardin-Simmons at a Howard Payne game until the very end. And I don't know how Noah Garcia is. Obviously, he has some good understudies that can pick up the slack for him. But they lost 2 running backs to injury. I don't think folks fully realized that last week. Their kind of fullback type also was out on a trainer's table for a little while. So I don't know what his status will be as well. But I'm going to give... I know I'm going to upset the guy that wanted me to go interview the other team the other day, but I'm going to say Mary Harn-Baylor ekes one out. I don't know if that's enough for the tiebreaker, but it'll be enough to keep them in for Pool C at the very least. 21-20.
Wow, wasn't expecting that. Last time I picked against the Cowboys, I regretted it. I think they're one of the top teams in the country, so I think they'll win this one. It'll be a closer game than before, but they'll come away, let's say, with like a 35-24 win.
Stout at Oshkosh.
I'll take the Titans. I think that they're going to end up winning the championship. I'm going to hitch my cart to those guys, and I'll say that they will win this one in a close call, 27-24.
Yeah, I think it will be close. Stout just doesn't know how to win big or lose big this season. It's always close. I'm going to say Oshkosh does win it, though, 31-28 in that game. Your pick.
How about Endicott Husson?
I knew that was coming. You got to go with the goals. I mean, Husson's been just skirting away from disaster, it seems like, all season long. And that's not the way you want to be going into a game like this. You want to be winning big and strong. But, they can put up points, can Husson. But Endicott's defense, I think, will tamp them down to win 31-21. Endicott wins that.
Yeah, I like Endicott in this one. I think that they'll win it 42-24.
Case Grove City.
Wow. I think just the running game of... And it's at Grove City. Okay, so yeah, I think the Wolverines will sort of ground and pound this one to try to keep Fromberg and that offense on the sidelines. And when he's on the field, they might force a turnover or two. I'll take the Wolverines to win this one 24-14.
Yeah, Grove City, if they win, don't forget, there's nothing that's really going to happen here because W&J is off this week. So it's basically just to stay in Pool C contention for the time being. Grove City, though, I think does win this game, as you're suggesting, 35-17. I actually think it'll be a little distant. I think they woke up after that W&J game. Next up, Pack Loot at Linfield.
I think Pack Lou will give them a good run for their money, but Linfield is kind of on a roll right now, so I think they'll pull away late and win this one 35-21.
Yeah, Linfield 41-14. Your turn.
Whitewater Lacrosse. At Lacrosse.
I'm picking Whitewater. I said it in Quick Hits. I picked it this way in Quick Hits. I'm not changing right now. I just think that they're playing the house money game, Whitewater, and now you're realizing probably they still have a real chance. The dog agrees, see? If the dog agrees, then we've got this. Whitewater wins this 28-27 in a thriller.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you. I just feel like they have a chance to play spoiler here. They, like you said, they maybe have a mathematical shot to squeak in the next 2 weeks, or maybe they'll end up, in the Isthmus Bowl. We'll see. Warhawks win 28-24.
Bethel at Concordia Moorhead.
Yeah, this is interesting because Bethel hasn't really been tested, I guess, in certain respects, but Concordia Moorhead really, gave St. John's a hell of a game. So I think it'll be a close call, but I'll take the Royals to win it late, 31-28.
Interesting. I'm taking the Cobbers. Look, as you said, 7-point game versus a 25-point game against St. John's. I don't know what happened at Eau Claire game. That was one of Eau Claire's only 2 wins, I think, this season to start the season by the Cobbers. But they've really got it together. They've only given up 3, 0, 6, 38 to St. John's, but 7, 7, 7 after that. So their defense is strong. I think they win a defensive battle here against Bethel, 21-14. And your pick.
Okay, what do we got here?
Yeah, you got to go to the undercard now.
Yeah. Oh, I got a good one. Wesleyan versus Trinity for the NESCAC title.
Trinity wins this game by the final score of 28-20.
Yep. Dog agrees again. I'll take my hometown Hartford State Bantams to win it 35-34.
You forgot, I thought you were going to name this one. Monmouth at Lake Forest. Unfortunately, our Monmouth guest may have had a time zone issue is what I'm thinking here, type scenario. So I'm giving up hope.
I mentioned it was... Okay.
You might have.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any phone calls or anything or emails, so yeah. Okay, well, that's too bad because you know what? I think I'm going to pick the upset. I'll take the Great Scots to upset the Foresters 17-14.
Are you kidding me? You're doing that?
I gotta give Coach Cat a little bit of a hard time. We can't always be nice to him. You need some extra motivation. He's gonna tell me to go shove it.
Lake Forest at home. That's what I'm looking at. AJ Jackson's last go against Monmouth. He's not going to let this one slip through the cracks. 35-28, Lake Forest wins. Your pick.
All right. What else we got here? How about SUNY Maritime versus Coast Guard?
Kind of a trap game for SUNY Maritime right now to be maybe looking ahead to early here. Coast Guard has held their own this season. Boy, it's a tough one. It is no doubt tough, and I was afraid you were going to pick this one. What's Coast Guard's last couple of games? Lost to WPI, only 17-13 against Norwich. SUNY Maritime wins. I think they got the momentum here. 21-20 Maritime.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It looks like Coast Guard's been a little too inconsistent, and they lost big to WPI last weekend, and SUNY Maritime beat them by 7. So yeah, I'll take the Privateers in a 28-21 game.
Let's see what else I got for you here. Interesting. Not too much. The undercard kind of is the undercard this week. I'm not going to lie to you. Adrian Trine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Isn't that like the backyard brawl or whatever they call the border brawl, I believe? So that could be a good one.
Well,
let's see.
Predict it.
Trine. All right. Yo, Adrian.
Yo.
I think... Let's see, I need some data here. They're 6-2. Trine is 4-4.
Trine's home though.
Yeah, I guess I'll Trine is home. Yeah, they're trying to keep their kind of bump themselves above 500. Let's see what's going on with these guys. They've won a couple, lost a couple.
Curry.
I'll take Adrian. 38-27.
I'll take Trine at home just to be different here a little bit. 27-20. Your pick. I got a couple more if you end up not having one here.
If I'm stumped.
Yes.
All right. How about Widener FDU?
Oh, good one. Let's see. Boy. Tough one. That is tough. I will give it to the home team here, FDU in this case, but another good one, 31-30 in FDU's favor.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Devils also. Just feels like they're having a special year, and they only barely lost to Kings a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'll pick them a close one, 21-17.
How about the biggest little game in America?
But of course, Amherst Williams, you see. Yes, I'll have some caviar with my escargot. I think Williams is the pick this year. They had a tough loss last weekend. You saw them in person. They hung with Trinity there for a little bit. I'll take the Eves to pull away late, 24-17.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I liked what I saw against Trinity early, and I think they have the power to, if they can keep that up the entire game, win and go above 500 this season. What a bad season for both these teams in retrospect, but Williams can salvage a 500-plus record with this win. So I give it to Williams as well, 28-21. Go ahead with one more. Clock hit 0, but I can give you the last chance here.
After I closed everything down, great. Let's see. How about...
I got one for you. Rochester Union.
Yeah, go for it.
Hit it.
Oh, yeah. What the heck happened to the Jackets last weekend with that loss to Buff State? And, it's been a rough go for the Charger Dutchman, so maybe they'll pull off the... I don't know. I got to go with Coach Chad. He's one of my old teammates. I'll take Rochester in a close one, 28-24.
I saw some ass on Twitter post the fake ballot thing with Trump and Harris and then other write-in, and all these different people were doing fire blank as the write-in, and somebody did fire John Drock, and that's just something that's like, something. First off, when you look at Union and the situation they were in coming into this season, Poppy was doing recruiting, but obviously he had focus on something else going on too at Columbia, and can't blame him for that. So Drock comes in late, doesn't get to necessarily do the recruiting he would want to do, and so they end up a little bit light after 2 straight years of new head coaches. That's just the way it goes. John Drock is going to return this team to former glory, no doubt in my mind, over the next seasons, and that's just something people need to be aware of. So, having said that, I think this is a game that plays into Union's category a little bit. I think you're going to see a little fun and gun going on both sides of this game. I'm going to give Union the nudge on this one. Guys, don't let me down here. 31-24 in favor of Union. JB, how do you watch this weekend as we begin to close down here? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying my dog barked right after. I had it on mute, but so maybe she's with you there. So this is interesting. This weekend is going to be really condensed. The latest kickoff is at 5 p.m., so there's going to be a lot of games kind of sandwiched in between the noon and 1 p.m. hour. You can start off if you want to see some conference playoff level games. You got Husson Endicott starting. You got Springfield, Merchant Marine. You got Wesley and Trinity for the NESCAC title. Amherst Williams, the oldest or the littlest game, whatever that one thing goes. Widener at FDU Forum should be a good one too. Later on, Cortland Brockport's at noon. Case Western Grove City starts the 1 o'clock kickoffs in earnest. You've got Hardin Simmons and UMHB starting at 2 p.m. Marietta Mount Union's at 1:30. That's a huge game. So 1 o'clock is also when Monmouth's Lake Forest kicks off. You got Wartburg Dubuque, as we mentioned earlier, is at 2 p.m. That's for the ARC title if Wartburg can win that one. And then you have all the WIAC games starting at 2. Stout, Oshkosh, Whitewater, La Crosse. I also forgot at 12 o'clock too, Greenville Northwestern. That will have a outcome with respect to the UMAC championship. Pomona Pitzer at Redlands is at 4. Pomona Pitzer's in the SCIAC championship game. I think this outcome could either just confirm whether or not they host it, and then Pac-Lou at Linfield is another 4 o'clock kickoff, and the final game of the night is Colby Bowdoin at 5 p.m. So lots of games It's kind of compacted in a 5-hour window.
Coach Cat 0, JB
it's
picked
coming
against you. What do you got to say about this, Cat?
Hey, JB, I take a little bit of umbrage with you picking against us. So with that, you get a 48-hour ban from the Forest, but you can come in on Sunday with us if you want to come hang out then.
Coach, give us a little preview of this game. Monmouth, obviously a tough team coming in to the Forest. You don't take them lightly, I know that every year, but especially this year, they look pretty darn good. Tell us about this game.
Yeah, I mean, Monmouth's been kind of the standard bearer for the last 15 years in our conference. And so the last couple of years we've won 2 out of the last 3. They won last year. They have a great head coach in Chad Braun, a guy I respect tremendously. They're really balanced. They have a defense with a front 4 that is as good as anybody in the country. Their offensive line's been a little bit beat up, but that's allowed a lot of people to step up for them as the year's gone on. And they played really well and played really balanced. You look at our scores against common opponents; they're very similar. They've got a running back, Nate Rublik, that is a very talented player. They were kind of splitting reps for 2 guys early in the year, and then he kind of took over the last couple of weeks. And then the biggest place where they have tremendous talent is at the wide receiver position. They've got 3 wide receivers that are as good as anybody in our league, and we've got a guy named Colin Brenstein down there at Illinois College. He catches about 2,000 yards worth of footballs, and I think the guys at Monmouth are just as good. So It'll be a really good matchup. I think we've got some talented players too that are going to stack up well, but I know that their coaches are going to have them ready to go in a championship game. And last year we had one of the more exciting games in the conference. At the 27 seconds or so to go in the game, we block a punt and have to go kick a field goal, and then they block the field goal, and so it turns into a 16-14 win for them. And we want to make sure that the game's not in the last couple of seconds having to be decided this week. We'd like to get that decided a little bit sooner.
How is running back / wide receiver / kick returner / slice and dices and juliennes?
Mr. Everything.
AJ Jackson, Mr. Everything, as JB said. How is he preparing for this game? His last tilt against Monmouth out there and his last chance to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, he's doing everything he normally does. He's one of those guys that treats his preparation for the games and getting his body right at a higher level than any player I've ever coached. And, the time that he spends just making sure that he gets all that soreness out from the previous week, because we do ask him to do a lot. He does that, but where he really excels is the emotional leadership he provides to our team, where the intensity can be mimicked, can be followed, and he really sets that level for our guys every week, and he's done that in practice all week.
Coach, appreciate you joining us spur of the moment. I thought you might have heard the shot heard around the world when JB picked against you. I will gladly take a W against him because I'm down 7 right now. What better way to turn things around than with a Forester's win to get things off and running here. So best of luck tomorrow. Best of luck to both teams and a nice, safe game. But we'll see how this one turns out. And perhaps next time I'm in Chicagoland, we can grab another drink and commiserate and discuss this thing.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. And JB, I still love you, even though you got terrible taste in music, and I don't know if you're really good at picking games right now. So we'll have to
Thank you,
get
sir.
back together on that.
He said, "Thank you."
Appreciate that.
Be well, sir. Okay. Yeah. How's that? The dog was even excited, a little bit upset about the taste of music comment.
She's fired
probably.
up.
Well, unfortunately,
right. He's a hip hop guy. I'm a rock guy. What can I say?
Unfortunately, we're one guest short of what we thought would be, but at least we had Jim Catanzaro join us to represent that game that we thought we were going to represent with the video guest here. So, JB, we are right at the 1 hour mark, and I think that means it's time to send it home here. As usual, you'll see updates from especially Brockport hosting Cortland on X throughout Saturday afternoon from me, from JB, about all the games going on. And there's a lot of games going on in that 5 hour slot between noon and 5 p.m. Kicking off because we don't have any of the late night stuff going on. So you'll want to stay tuned to what he's got going on because of that compressed schedule tomorrow. Then we're going to work to either Tuesday or Wednesday get out crunch time as normal, or as we aim to as normal. With me traveling only to Rochester, that's a much better chance of it happening with less things going on. Happy Veterans Day for those that are veterans out there or families of veterans. That will be celebrated by many on Monday. I know our village will be off that day, so it gives me a little extra time to get some work done on this as well. But we will take pause to remember those we lost, but also to celebrate those that we have in this country that have fought for our country along the way or have been on standby for us as well. Any last thoughts, sir?
No, I mean, maybe for just to wrap this thing up, Frank, you can pull up the slide that shows all the different conference clinching scenarios. We'll just run through those one last time just for everybody's edification here. We've got Wartburg can win if they beat Dubuque. You got Hardin-Simmons with a win over UMHB. Hopkins can win their conference. North Central. You got to wait, a week for the ECFC. We've got Husson, Endicott will decide that game. E8 will be decided on Saturday. Mount St. Joe's can win the HCAC. We've already got a few conferences booked with Susquehanna, Hobart, and Kings already clinched. Mass Dartmouth can win their conference with a win at Westfield State. Hope can clinch. I got to wait for week 11 for the MEAC though. They have that conference championship game. Monmouth, Lake Forest, which we already talked about, is a championship game in the Midwest. Aurora's clinched. You've got Wabash at DePauw, basically the de facto conference game conference championship game in week 11. The new MAC won't be decided till week 11. The NJAC's been decided. Same thing with the NWC. That's a week 11. Mount Union versus Marietta, one of the biggest games of the weekend. If Mount Union wins, they've got it. If Marietta wins, you got to wait a week. We'll see what happens there. Randolph-Macon could win the ODAC. We still got a 3-car pileup in the PAC and the SCA. We'll have to wait and see how those play out. Another week 11 championship game with Chapman and Pomona. Northwestern can win the UMAC Pool A bid with a win against Greenville. It's a noon kickoff. And then the USA South and the WEAC all end up going to week 11. There are some teams that control their destiny, though. Maryville can win the USA South with a Brevard loss in week 10 and them winning. Otherwise, they have to win in week 11 too to kind of close this thing out. Oshkosh controls his destiny, and you can see all the other stuff. We posted this on Twitter for your reference, and so here we go. A lot of conference championships going to be clinched this weekend. It should be great to watch how it all unfolds.
We're out. We'll see you throughout the weekend and next week. Thanks for joining us, folks.